Hi, I'm John McVestry, and this is the last video that is part of the Visual Facilitation for Coaches course. Um, the first three, so we had background in neuroscience, basics of visual facilitation, so the drawing skills, and a load of examples, tools, and practicalities in the third video are what was the main course. There is a separate, a fourth video now, which we're calling live iPad facilitation, which is because I get a lot of questions about the iPad stuff. So I have a few extra bits to show you about that. If you're interested in the kind of live facilitation, remotely and face-to-face that I do with an iPad. So I am going to share my screen. Uh, and we're going to go through some of this. So yeah, this was a separate course for a little while, a little webinar almost about live iPad facilitation. I've trimmed some bits out of it. I'll share all of these images. But the really short version of this is that you have an iPad, you have a stylus, you have a piece of software that you use to draw, to organize things, a notebook or a drawing tool. Each thing that you want to do, each session or each workshop or each training course, is a set of pages and templates and images that are kind of half finished. They're part of what you want to show, but then you add later to them. You add the content live so that people feel connected to it. And then I share the screen while I'm doing it. And that might be on Zoom, or it might be on Teams, or it might be on Google Meet, or it might be in a room with a big telly or a projector. And that's the really short version of it. I'm going to talk about the practicalities of sharing first. Um, People don't think of doing this face to face, actually, but we'll talk about later. There is a an Apple TV. iPads can wirelessly cast to Apple TVs, and I tend to carry one around with me in a bag, plug it in to whatever projector or TV I find myself in, and then you can walk around and you look really fancy. If you want to look a bit less fancy, an HDMI cable and an adapter for your iPad tethers you to whatever you have, but you get a long one. You try not to trip over it. Remotely, for a long time, I've used a piece of software called AirServer. I'm not going to go through that today because I've had some problems with it recently. It is a nice piece of software that creates a window on your screen of your iPad, and then you can share it. But it has had some issues recently. You're probably better if you use Zoom. You can share straight to Zoom. And if we're using something else, Teams, Google Meet, we join as another participant and share our screen. So I'm going to take you through these things. In Zoom, um, we have a built-in option. It now sits under advanced, I think, but a nice, easy option to say, go and share, choose that you want to share an iPad, and then when you pull down, which you'll actually see, you get an option to cast, and then you choose the Zoom one, and it will project it and it will show it. You have to make sure you're on the same Wi-Fi network. And this is pretty reliable now. Used to be a bit flaky. And uh, some Windows, which a lot of people are surprised by. So you can have your Mac and you can have your Windows machine, and this just works. Um, this is the clever one. We can do this in Zoom. We can do it in Teams. We can do it in Google Meet. Most of these platforms allow you to join as guests, even when you've got quite a corporate locked down estate. Usually we can invite into Microsoft Teams free accounts and guests. We just give them the meeting link. So do look for this. You basically create a free Zoom account or a free Teams account for your iPad. You install the software, you join the meeting. John's iPad has joined the meeting as a guest, been allowed in. No camera, no microphone. but it can share its screen. And then we're away, aren't we? Um, face to face, I just have to say that this looks damn cool when you're walking around with an iPad. You've got a big projector with it on behind you. It means you can reuse stuff that you are using for online workshops and courses. And that it's just generally a flip chart. If you've got more than about 8 or 10 people, it's a little bit difficult to see it. You might have a big projector or multiple televisions or something like that. This is something to consider that I think most people don't think is possible. Like I said before, it can be done with an Apple TV that I'll tell you about which one later, or it can just be done with an HDMI cable. Get a lightweight one, get a long one, and I say try not to trip over it. It will work. Um, so the second part really is that you need to have something that you can use to do a bit of drawing. And I like paper by WeTransfer. I pay them I don't know if it's gone up from £9. I pay them a small amount of money every 6 months. And I chose it just because it's a really simple piece of drawing software. It's not too fancy. There's not too much to it. It's easy to import images and things and to export um, images and PDFs, things to share with people. It lets me organize my work and it just has like a really basic set of tools. Don't get too complicated. And there is a free version, you can try it out. It just misses a few of the options. Um, so I mean, generally, what I like about it is it has this concept of notebooks, which you can duplicate. You can use them as templates. You can sort of have one which is this is my template for this training course or for this workshop. You make a copy of it and then you fill it in. You have pages with the hard work done. They're effectively templates, as we talked about in other videos. We put icons, we set up titles, we create space to record bits of information that are perhaps more relevant in the room with people. And yeah, and it lets us export individual images, PDFs. People love it when you can just export a PDF of everything that's been done. I'll do it at the end of this. Yeah. Um, you can see, I suppose the toolbox of it is dead simple. We've got a felt tip. We've got something which is a little bit more like a biro. We've got the magic biro, which lets you draw wonky shapes and and then they magically become square. We've got things like cut and paste, fill tool, images to import, and we can set a grid. It sounds like a lot actually. There's an eraser there as well. But it's a simple tool. There's not that much to it. And I think actually that lack of complexity really helps. Big fan of that. You don't like this, we do other stuff, right? We do PowerPoint. What we can do is we can, use existing material. Look, there's an old piece of training material that I used to use, Introduction to Scrum, and you can annotate the slides directly by putting PowerPoint on your iPad and drawing on it. It lets you do that with a stylus. Or we can take images and screenshots of bits and pieces, and we can put them into something like paper. Um, you can do exactly the same with PDFs. It's a little piece of software called PDF Expert for the iPad, and we can draw, we can highlight, and we can annotate directly. Um, and it means that you don't have to jump into this all at once. You can use stuff that you've already produced. You can give it a live flavor with your iPad. Other things like Miro. I used Miro briefly in one of the previous videos. But if we have something in Miro, there's a Miro app for iPads, and if we're sharing the screen, we can draw and write straight onto it, and other people can watch. Again, it's that little extra flavor of a little bit of interactivity. Um, I want to show you what you can do with your existing stuff as well, sort of in terms of chopping it up a little bit. So, I mean, here's a couple of slides that I used to use many moons ago. Sprint planning, stand up, bit of clip art, bit of PowerPoint. Everyone loves it, don't they? And I can really just go to something like this. If I'm not feeling like creating something from scratch and drawing it, I can quite happily come up with something like this. I can put icons, I can put headings, I can create the space where it looks professional or it fits in with the rest of my theming and my branding. And the bit that I can do live, talk about this thing and take those things that were bullet points. There we go, there's a few bullet points. And I can write them out here live and will connect people to the material. I can always take it further. There's the version of it that is perhaps a little bit more drawn, a little bit more me these days. But it doesn't have to be. We can stick with what we have. We can use it, we can play, we can draw on it, we can annotate, and we can bring it to life with the iPad. There you go. The iPads themselves, a few years ago, you had to buy the really fancy ones to do this. But nowadays, the most basic iPads that are between £300 and £400 will do the job very nicely. The iPad Airs are a little bit nicer. The iPad Pros are extortionate. I have my lovely 12-inch iPad Pro from a few years ago, but I wouldn't spend over £1,000 again if it broke. I'd buy something like this. I think they're more like 600 or 700. But you need to make sure get the right Apple Pencil. So these are beautiful styluses that connect to the iPad and mean that when you sort of smear your hand along the edge of it, it doesn't pick it up, it just picks up the pencil. But there's a few different versions of it now, and they fit with different iPads. So you need to make sure you get the right one. Other stuff that's worth investing in, get yourself a nice stand. Um, I got one for I got two for 20 quid from Amazon. Heavy bases, something to stand it in so that the iPad is present and sort of easy to use. And then the other one is a matte screen protector. Um, I think these are a bit pricey. I think they might be 30 odd quid. But what it does is it changes your iPad screen from this kind of shiny, kind of sticky kind of feeling to a smooth, much like paper. And therefore this sort of thing. Um, Old Apple TV. It's about 10 years old, probably 12 years old now, mine. I think I paid 50 quid from eBay for it. And I just I plug it in and it just works. But equally, the right adapter, a lightweight HDMI cable, and we can do these things face to face. It's really helpful to people. Um, yeah, this is maybe the last thing. Um, Other options are available. You don't have to use paper by WeTransfer. Procreate on the iPad is quite nice. I tried that and I can do most of the same things. But any other tablet will work. Get yourself an Android tablet, Fire tablet, Chrome, Microsoft Surface. And all you need to be able to do is a little bit of what we said before. Find a stylus so you can write on it properly. Join a Zoom or a Teams call. Share your screen and find something that you can draw in or a way to annotate a PDF or a document or something like that. And that's it. I think in the previous video, I described this as being quite a long way. The sort of road of fanciness is to be able to facilitate live with your iPad, but it's not that hard. People feel a little bit, a little bit intimidated by it, but it's something that allows you to both remotely and face to face properly engage people, be able to show them some of the skills that you've picked up in the videos that I've done before. So give it a go if you've got one lying around. Don't run out and buy one until you've played with a piece of paper and you've drawn and you've decided whether this is something for you. Um, that's that. That is the end of our fourth video. I really hope that this has been a useful set of content to create. Please let me know. Please let me know if there's anything about it you want to talk about. I find it very interesting. But yeah, I really enjoyed making this and I hope people enjoy using it.